All right, welcome everybody to the fifth episode of Absolute Pro Wrestling After the Bell, where we talk about all things APW, hashtag for the bird. Joining me tonight, as always, is the man behind the scenes with APW, Jason Prentice. Mysterious by his absence is Ricky Bronson. He is training and getting ready for his big match this coming Saturday, but we'll get into more of that later on. How's it going, Jason?
It's not going too bad. It's been quite an exciting time in professional wrestling for Absolute Pro Wrestling. Just had a show last weekend in Algona, got a show this weekend. Last I saw, there were 4 tickets left for reserve. We
Nice.
typically put 80 seats on the reserve only, and most of our businesses walk up. We've done about 90 of those now. We had to add more seats to the whole thing for reserves.
Awesome.
So pretty effing awesome to be at this point in this position for what hopefully is a red hot crowd at the Hall in West Des Moines. And the Brawl at the Hall, huge show, second show for us in Des Moines. Main event, Jackson King, Matty Starr. We'll talk more about that throughout the program. But I'm happy to see you as always, even though those two hooligans aren't with us tonight.
Right. Yep. Good to see you as well. Emmett and I and the kids weren't able to make it last Saturday. Emmett had state wrestling, but tell us a little bit about Winter Warfare and how that went in Algona.
When it's a home game, I'm sure you understand this. When you
Mhm.
have a home game and you ain't got to travel far to do shows, it feels freaking awesome. And it did. It felt like a long day, but it was all worth it in the end. All those fans in Algona showed up, and they were loud. They were rowdy all night long, which was awesome. We had 6 matches. We had Calvin Kelly made his official in-ring debut with us at Absolute Pro Wrestling. Took on James Thomas. Calvin walked away with the win. Cash Kennedy was originally going to be on that card. Their partners, Risky Business, SCW, they're tag champs. They are very well documented here in the state of Iowa as a tag team, decorated in the tag team division here in Iowa. But we wanted to see what they could do as a team. Cash Kennedy actually broke his orbital bone, and he's out until early May. So he'll be back with us in May on May 17th. So we're really looking forward to having him in Algona. But we wanted to see what Calvin could still bring to the table. We shifted him over against James Thomas, and it was a really good matchup. And for those that are looking for that matchup, it'll be up on our YouTube channel here over the next week. So really excited for folks to check that out and see how that went. Also, Death Dealer, he said he was going to be there. There's some kind of vibes throughout the whole evening. Would he be there? Would he not? We'll talk about that in a hot second. Otherwise, Victor Payne and Damon Dillinger, to start the show, they aligned themselves with Anthony Draven. They were his insurance policy to make sure that the Death Dealer wouldn't even come out for the main event, wouldn't get involved in anything. In the opening contest, it was Victor Payne against Ugly, and Victor Payne, with a little bit of chicanery from Damon Dillinger, he walks out with a win, beats Ugly in a very big win for Victor Payne, and that insurance policy was proving themselves, and Anthony Draven's in the aisleway, clapping along, happy as can be. And then the boys, they were in action against the Canadian Bulldogs. Loud USA chants, and I cannot tell you how loud they were. You had to be there to experience it because they were very loud chanting USA. And I think due to the current climate of Canadians versus the Americans in this world, via sports, via political issues, or whatever the hell, yeah, it was very tense in the VFW. But the boys, they had that American pride, and they were able to overcome the Canadian Bulldogs chicanery. They walk away with a win in the tag division. Not a great start for the Canadian Bulldogs, the self-proclaimed greatest tag team out of Calgary, but you know what? They still walked away. They were still standing at least, so they have that to take home with them over yonder. So I guess, yeah, good for them. Also in action from last Saturday night, Devlin Kane took on Jay Wesley. This was a first-time matchup between the two. Funny enough, they actually teamed up. Here's a little backstory for you, a little history for you. They teamed up in Tennessee a few months back. You know, Devlin Kane, he was trying to test out how, if you could believe this, how much of a Viking is Jay Wesley? That's what he wanted to figure out. And Jay Wesley's like, I'm just here to wrestle. I'm just here to have fun, do my thing.
Right.
They lost that tag match. Devlin Kane said, this kid doesn't know what it takes to be a Viking. They wrestled in Algona, Iowa, a little garage match between the two, and Jay Wesley was able to walk away with a victory last Saturday night in Algona at the VFW. Jay Wesley, one of the things we talked about, too, during that match, it feels like Jay Wesley's trying to find his footing once again after losing the tag titles to the free world. Him and Ethan Everhart, they've had opportunities, Social Experiment Wrestling. They've had opportunities in Impact Pro Wrestling. They've had opportunities all over the place, even with us as well, for Absolute Pro Wrestling. This match was one of those things. Again, it looks like he's getting his footing back. Is Jay Wesley, and it was an opportunity for him to secure a win. He got the job done. Now he's looking forward. Now he's looking ahead, and whether that means he's going to get another shot with Ethan at tag titles or not, time can only tell. But I know he's all over social media yelling at anybody that's going to listen to him, saying, hey, give me the damn rematch.
Sure is.
Give me the damn rematch. Oh, my goodness. If you want to deal with him, Clint, please do.
Well, I mean, you have someone who could easily, meet his aggression and let them kind of work things out. Say, I'm always stirring the pot. I mean, Bryce Jordan, let them just have their match and work some issues out and take it to each other. Just it's there.
Always stirring that pot. Always stirring that pot. But listen, the big thing at the end of the night, I know we're skipping some things, but the big thing at the end of the night was our main event. That was Aaron Von Baron against Anthony Draven with the insurance policy at ringside. Surprisingly, one of the coolest shots. We're playing it right now. You can see it. One of the coolest shots, one of the craziest things of the night. Aaron Von Baron comes out to basically a chorus of cheers from the Algona crowd. It was one of the craziest things I've seen in so long for Absolute Pro Wrestling. But one of the coolest things, shout out to Bryce Eubanks. Listen, he is no Emmett Dye. All right, but he got a great shot of that entrance. And just overall, the match, it was very kind of, just figuring each other out early on. And Draven didn't want to deal with some of the tactics of the champ. And at one point, the insurance policy pulled Anthony Draven out, got out of the crossface by doing that. And then all of a sudden, the lights go out. What's going on? Masks start to flood the audience. The Death Dealer masks are on everybody in the audience almost. And they start looking for the Death Dealer. They think they find him.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Payne and David Dillinger look at their boss, and they say, hey, Draven, we don't know where he is. All of a sudden, another guy with a Death Dealer mask stands up, clocks them both, takes off the mask, and it's the Death Dealer. It's one of the craziest scenes in the history of Absolute Pro Wrestling. He got a little bit up on Draven, and then it was 3-on-1, and then I felt the need, Clint, to help my friend out. So I got my hands in there. I tackled David Dillinger's little scrawny ass. And then, listen, I'm not a wrestler. I'm just me. I've been in the ring before, but I got two left feet every now and again, and I was getting a left and a right foot from Damon Dillinger, and all of a sudden, Walk by Pantera's playing. I'm half there. I'm like, what is going on? Justin Decent saves our asses, and then we clean house. They get out in a hurry, and now somehow, some way, I've gotten myself into a 6-man tag on May 17th. It's an absolute anarchy match at Floral Hall. 6-man tag. Anthony Draven and his insurance policy, Victor Payne, Damon Dillinger against myself, the Death Dealer, and Justin Decent. I'm excited about it. I'm scared about it. I got to train again. I hate it. I got to eat chicken and steak and broccoli and all these vegetables. I have to just go walk 2 miles every freaking day, and then it blizzards in Algona, freaking Iowa, Clint. I have to be clean for 2 months. This sucks. And I'm going to West Des Moines where they serve all this good stuff. And you're telling me I have to be clean with this diet, Clint? This is bullshit. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. But here we are. It's going to happen May 17th. I'm over it already.
You seem to keep getting yourself caught in these situations where you got to stand up and fight. So,
man, getting myself into the situations. You're not kidding. Okay, that's not even starting pot. Clint Dye is telling the truth for once here on the podcast, not stirring a pot, professional pot stirrer. That's what his tag
No.
should say as well.
Yep. So yeah, well, it sounds like it was a really good show. Another great Algona crowd, from what it sounds like. They always come out and they're very loud and supportive of APW, which is awesome. Which that brings us to Saturday, actually, the brawl at the Hall in Des Moines, returning back. What does it mean for APW to be returning to Des Moines again?
Well, it's special. You know, we really want to get our footprint there. We really want to be able to produce shows constantly and consistently out there. It just comes down to a few things. And I know people will sit there and say, oh, the crowds are always good out there. There's got to be money invested. There's got to be all sorts of opportunities. It does come down to dollars and cents. Does it make sense to be at this building? Will it make us money? It's all just a bunch of company jargon that nobody gives a shit about, and they shouldn't give a shit about, but we have to give a shit about that.
Right.
We have to care about those little details. You know, we were talking with a couple of places, but it didn't make sense for us from a business standpoint to go out there. And that's just, I mean, you hear people in WWE talk about this kind of stuff all the time too. So that's why I like the basically just being brutally honest, you know, with our fans, with the talent, and just being like, hey, if it makes sense to go here, because we get that all the time, you guys should come over here. Well, if it doesn't make sense financially for us to do that, you know, then we're not going to do that. If it makes sense to do it financially, if it makes sense a lot, you know, logistically, you know, can we get the ring there? Will the ring fit in there? You know, stuff like that. And this is a venue too where we found the hall, we talked with the owners, and we're like, hey, you know, you guys want to have it here. They wanted it in a different area of the bar, of the whole venue. And I said, okay. And they're showing me the rest of the site, and I said, why not in here? And it has this gritty feel to it as well. And I love that. It's very pro wrestling guerrilla-like in my mind, in my opinion. And it's just a crazy environment. We have 4 tickets left for second row seating only, and that's it. And we're out. You know, the reserves on this are amazing. The vibe is going to be awesome. We can't wait for it. And it feels good to be back in a place where wrestling action, the history of wrestling in Des Moines, you know, whether it be with IPW, with 3XW, Madhouse's, you know, debut last year, our debut, anybody else, the history in Des Moines is very special. And I know that metro, that you know, entire fan base, they crave wrestling. We're going to give them a little bit of that drug here this weekend.
Nice. And we got a good card on hand for sure. First one I want to talk about, first match, is AJ Smooth taking on Mason Grayskull. We saw both men in the Winter Brawl Classic. We know AJ was on the debut show with APW, you know, trying to get in title contention, but hasn't had the best of luck, you know, in his matches. What's going to be his mindset going into this match against a relative newcomer to APW and the whole wrestling scene? You know, we got the veteran versus the new guy. What's going to be AJ's mindset coming into Saturday?
Listen, I used to manage AJ. I can tell you from my standpoint, as somebody who now is promoting a match of his and somebody who has managed him, I think it is win. That's all he has in his mind. You talked about it. Mason Grayskull, he's a newcomer. AJ Smooth has not won a single match, period, for Absolute Pro Wrestling.
Right.
And he's won elsewhere. He's won outside of APW over the last year and a half. You know, over the entire history of our company, he's won elsewhere, but he hasn't found his footing when he steps into the ring with the blue ropes. Right. It's crazy. It's like, it's just kryptonite. I don't know how to explain it, but he has had tough competition. You look at the guys he's had to face. Well, shit, he faced Ethan Everhart. He faced Matty Starr. Right. You know, he took on some big bad guy. He took on the Death Dealer in the first match where Death Dealer said, hey, I'll face anybody. Okay. AJ Smooth. Like, AJ has faced some really stiff competition. He has faced men that, I mean, look where they are. Look where they are right now. 2 of those guys, former APW champions. So it's not like he's just facing anybody willy-nilly. He ain't just some scrub off the street. He's facing some top competition. And for Mason Grayskull, this is a very big opportunity for Mason. I don't think AJ's overlooking him at this point. I think AJ is taking Mason Grayskull, saying, okay, yeah, the kid's had how many matches total in his life? And now, okay, I've had thousands of matches in my life, but I haven't won in APW. So he's studying Mason Grayskull. He's watching film from anywhere he can. Any promotion that's had Grayskull on their show, AJ is watching film, telling the kids, hey, Dad's going to be just one more minute. Boom. Okay, let's go. Like, he is studying how to take control of the match away from Mason Grayskull and hopefully line himself up with a W, his first in APW history. And for Mason Grayskull, he's looking to take on a guy who's been a former heavyweight champion in the state, former tag champion in the state.
Yep.
He's looking to take on one of the most decorated athletes in the entire state of Iowa. This is a big match for both men and for different reasons. And that's why I think this has a little bit of an underdog feel as far as candidates for match of the night. I can't wait to see what happens between these two.
Yeah, like you said, it's a big opportunity for Mason Grayskull getting a chance to take on a guy with as good as a background as anybody in the state of Iowa. So big opportunity for him. Another young guy is getting a big opportunity Saturday, and Damon Dillinger. You kind of talked about him earlier, aligning himself with the Death Dealer is one of his biggest rivals, Anthony Draven. So Death Dealer gets a chance to get his hands on one of Draven's insurance guys, but Dillinger has a chance to really shine in this singles opportunity in a huge contrast to styles. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, you think about it. The first time that we had Damon Dillinger in Des Moines, he was taking on Cole Cannon, and that was a contrast of styles. I fear for the guy. I fear for him to just get yacked around the ring, heated out of the ring,
right?
beaten up, black and blue. See you later. He may not make it to May 17th, but at the same time, is Victor Payne going to be around? You know, is that's something now you got to think about in the back of your head. Will Anthony Draven be involved? Like those little things now you start to think about. I don't know what's going to happen. I personally, I'm a little biased about this matchup, but I hope that Death Dealer teaches that kid a lesson he will not soon forget. So we're going to have to see what happens. But, man, contrast to styles, contrast to size, speed and ability and agility and all that good shit. I can't wait to see what happens between these two.
Well, and the winner gets their team for the big six-man tag a little momentum before that show, too. So a lot at stake going into that, momentum on the line for both sides of that match on that one. We got another matchup of AJ O'Callahan taking on Leo Santel, part of the Free World. Free World's doing a little individual wrestling Saturday night. How did this match come together?
So the last point show we did, we're sitting there afterwards, and AJ O'Callahan kind of makes a friendly gesture, thought to management saying, hey, I'm from the area. I love the show tonight. I'd love to be a part of it. Like, oh yeah, we could certainly talk about that. And then Leo Santel overhears this. He comes over to myself and another gentleman who shall remain nameless and said, if you guys do not put me in a match with that twerp right there, and I'm using a better word than what he actually used. If you don't put me in the ring with that little twerp right there, we're going to have problems. And I would rather not take another belly to belly from Leo Santel. So I'm still hurting. I said, okay, we can certainly talk about that. And when it got back, I'm not going to say anybody stirred the pot and told AJ O'Callahan that he was called a little twerp or whatever word it was that was used. AJ O'Callahan said, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, okay, great. Let me show him what kind of a twerp I am. So these two, little something. Hey, they're both from the area. This is a hometown game for both of them, which I think makes things very interesting because the last time Leo Santel was in Des Moines, he had family and friends that were cheering their asses off for him. They loved being there and chanting for him. And now he's coming back, too. It's a homecoming with a championship in his arms. He gets to say, hey, daddy's the man right now. A newborn child also. He's on cloud 9 right now, personally and professionally. So he's coming in with a lot of momentum. And I think AJ O'Callahan has a point to prove. He's coming in with this, got a chip on his shoulder. Hey, he has faced some really talented individuals. Took on Bryce Jordan recently in Central Empire Wrestling. He took on Jackson King over at Social Experiment Wrestling as well. He's faced some of the top talents, top young talents even, throughout the Midwest recently. And God, he's got a chance to face another young talent who's getting his feet wet right now, who's really crushing it right now. He's a champion for Absolute Pro Wrestling. If AJ O'Callahan can walk into his hometown and beat Leo Santel, man, that speaks volumes. And when you're speaking volumes, people listen. When people listen, opportunities come knocking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big night for three of those guys. I mean, Dillinger, Grayskull, and O'Callahan all have singles matches that can really get them some momentum going in APW for sure. We mentioned the free world. Obviously, then the boys are back in action together again, and they're taking on the big picture. And Dominic Zagri, how do you say the last name?
Zagreus, yeah, Dominic Zagreus. That match.
Right.
Yeah, that match that came together in a very crazy way. Originally, we were going to have Cole Cannon and the Big Picture team up to take on Du Bois. There was obviously the Free World connection with Du Bois, and also the fact that they're facing each other March 29th. That was on the docket. Some things kind of changing, some rumblings happening. We'll talk more about that as we go on the road to March 29th in Waterloo. But Zagreus replacing Cole Cannon now because Cole Cannon's not been cleared to compete. So he's going to take time to heal up from an injury he sustained at the end of the Winter Brawl Classic. You don't like to see people listen. I don't like Cole Cannon. I don't like to see guys get hurt. I don't like to hear about injuries.
Right.
I wish him speedy recovery. I know he's going to go enjoy a little vacation as well to kind of clear his head about all this stuff. So from those that are close to him, that are close with me, that's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Best of luck to him. So we move on. You have to move on. Next man up. It's just like any sport that anyone would play. Next man up, Dominic Zagreus. Zagreus was impressive. Here in Social Experiment Wrestling was impressive as well. In SCW has been impressive, even with us as well. Had a tag match recently at the last Des Moines show with Lonzo Romero against Du Bois, or actually I should say Ricky Bronson and Shank, which feels like it's just the cousin boys is more like it. I mean, Jesus Louise, it's like, the way those guys were getting along. But for Dominic Zagreus, this is a big opportunity. He's working with the big picture. Could he, maybe find himself a spot within the free world? Could he find himself a permanent spot on the roster for Absolute Pro Wrestling? Opportunity, again, we're talking, it's a word, it's a buzzword, and it's probably a drinking word at this point on this show because I say it a lot, but it's never ending. Opportunities are never ending with Absolute Pro Wrestling. And a lot of these young guys here trying to get their foot in the door, trying to showcase why they belong on a card on a Saturday night with Absolute Pro Wrestling. So Zagreus has a huge chance teaming up with the Big Picture, who is friends with, I don't know. I don't know what their dynamic is after the Winter Brawl Classic, but he's friends with the tag champ. So good to have that in your back pocket if you're Zagreus. Big chance for him to beat Bryce Jordan and Shank, former tag champs, but also Shank, the current number one contender to the heavyweight championship.
And I'm glad you brought that up because this makes an interesting point for the boys. We know what Shank has in store for his future with opportunity. Bryce Jordan, he's part of the tag team, but where's he kind of going, with APW? It's kind of interesting to see what will happen the rest of this year with Bryce Jordan and what may come after such a good performance in the Winter Brawl Classic, too.
Yeah, gutsy performance. He came in number one. He lasted all the way until he finished third overall out of 30 men. Like, that was a damn good performance for Bryce. Right. But Bryce, he wants more. He's always somebody who's motivated. He's always somebody who expects greatness out of himself. He expects to reach a certain tier in professional wrestling. He did that at Impact Pro Wrestling quickly, it felt like. I mean, it felt like one day we're talking about the Golden Boy, and now we're talking about the Golden God the next day. Like, that's how quickly he ascended to the top with Impact Pro Wrestling, and now he's in a very unique situation. Right, he's working different promotions now. He's teaming with different people. He's fighting different people, and with Absolute Pro Wrestling, he's trying to figure out where does he go. Right, Shank gets a heavyweight championship opportunity. Well, what about me? And some people say that's selfish. Some people will say that's absolutely selfish of Bryce to feel that way. I think it's perfectly normal. We know that he will be in action on March 29th, and if he is 100% cleared medically, his opponent will be Cole Cannon. If that is the case,
right.
Things shifted around with the card. We went from a tag match, tag title opportunity, We had to change some things around, but now Cole Cannon against Bryce Jordan, that's big. That's big for both men.
Right.
So Bryce has a chance to get some, you know, get some momentum, sure, but also he gets to team with his best friend. He gets to do the thing he loves to do, and that's tag wrestling. And he gets to try and do the other thing he loves doing, which is win.
Back to the boys. What's the Shanks mindset right now with the big match looming in the near future?
He wants to get as many reps as he can. That's one of the things him and I have talked about. Obviously, for him, he's never been in this situation where, okay, I know in 2 months I'm facing the heavyweight champ. And it gives him an opportunity where he can go in, he can go against people and get that, get that much needed motivation, get that much needed victory, try and get just as many reps as he can to prepare himself for that championship opportunity against Aaron Von Buren come May 3rd in Waterloo for Super Slam 3. But he's got a long road ahead of him. He's got to take on, multiple people throughout the next several months. And for him, this is a big chance. You talk about guys who got big chances here. You got one of the best amateur wrestlers we know at Absolute Pro Wrestling. Don't tell Shank I said that, by the way. He's going to be so mad that I'm putting anybody else over for their amateur skills. But this is a big chance. He's got the right mindset. He's not going in overthinking too much. He's training. He's dieting just like I am. Mm-hmm. He's a maniac. He went through a blizzard today to go work out and he's like, I need to do it. I just need to get it done. So he's got the right mentality and the right people pushing him to get ready for May 3rd.
Well, good. That's good to hear. That's going to be, I'm excited for that one. That's going to be a big one leading up to that. Speaking of May 3rd and the title match, obviously the champ, Aaron Von Buren's in action on Saturday with our normal co-host, Mr. Ricky Bronson, who is.
Well, you're not going to talk about our new co-host here?
Oh, yeah. Emmett joined us here. So, Aaron Von Buren and Ricky Bronson. I know when you announced it, Ricky was a little jumped the gun, got a little excited about it. What does this opportunity for Ricky Bronson mean to him? Like, I know you can't speak for him, but in your mind, what does it mean for him coming back from the injury and now getting a chance to take on the champ one-on-one?
So I know for a fact he doesn't have to say it. I know for a fact he's 1,000% nervous about this. Mm-hmm. And that means he cares. That means he needs this. He wants this. He freaking wants this so bad. He wants to beat the champ in his hometown, in front of everybody, in front of his mom. You think about all the stuff his family has endured over the last year and a half with his mom and her battles and everything. And for her to see her son face the best in Absolute Pro Wrestling, the man wearing the championship, the man that's at the top of the mountain, that's special for Ricky. That's special for his family. For him, Saturday night is about a lot of things. So many things. You can list it off. It's a shorter list of what it's not about for Ricky Bronson. Now, all that being considered, you're facing Aaron Von Buren. Mm-hmm. He's ruthless. He does not care what anybody else has gone through. He doesn't care about people's personal lives. He doesn't care about anybody's personal struggle. Ricky, his personal struggle, he screws up his shoulder, screws up another shoulder. This guy's fought his ass off to get back in action. Aaron doesn't care. Aaron broke his leg. Aaron messed up his knee. Aaron's gotten injured left and right. And he still kept finishing matches. While hurt, he still kept fighting through. He doesn't care about pain. He doesn't care about any of that crap. All he cares about is being victorious. And Saturday night, that's all he's going to care about. He's just as focused as Shank is right now on May 3rd. I think that's a big test for both men, May 3rd. Is he overlooking Ricky? Maybe a smidge. But at the end of the day, he's always locked in. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. Anthony Draven found that out in Algona. Justin Decent found that out in Waterloo. Could find it out again in Waterloo. I'm telling you, this match it's going to be rough to watch and tough to watch for some people. I hate to say it. It may be people that care about Ricky Bronson.
Well, and you brought up a really good point when it comes to this. The opportunity to shine for Ricky Bronson is there. This is probably, arguably, the biggest match of his career. You could almost call it the semi-main event for Saturday. And if he does win, he knows what could be down the line if he does get a win over the champ, which nobody else has been really able to do since that belt has been around his waist, whether it was non-title or title matches. Aaron Von Baron had arguably the most impressive reign as champion in APW. If you look at the list of people he's taken on, and he's met every comer, every challenge that he's met it head on, and it's really going to be a great, intense matchup. I think between these two. I think a lot of people are so used to Ricky being the life of the party. Well, I think we're going to see a more serious side of him come Saturday night, which he's going to need that if he's going to go toe to toe with the Herald of Darkness. I mean, ABB will deal.
Yeah, it's going to be the toughest task of Ricky's career, in my opinion. You're facing the Herald of Darkness. You're facing the toughest champion that we've seen in quite a long time, and the most vindictive one for sure. So, yeah, Saturday night's going to be very intriguing to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you wrapped that one up perfectly with that, which brings us to the main event. The bad blood is going to be boiling in this one. I made that post the other day. Matty Starr taking on the hometown kid and Jackson King. We've well documented the fallout of the free world and them abandoning Jackson King the way they did. Saw the video of Jackson talking about the whole situation. It's almost like Jackson needs this victory to prove something to himself and to Matty Starr that you guys made the biggest mistake of your life abandoning me, especially you, Matty, because you could see that Jackson took it very personal that Matty did walk away from him.
Oh yeah. I mean, Matty hand selected Jackson King. Mm-hmm. Hey, you and Leo, it's not pick one and pick two or pick A and pick B. Mm-hmm. You're both my first pick.
Right.
You both are my next in line. You guys, you're my family. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to help guide you guys. And there were times where Matty let these boys try to figure it out. Mm-hmm. He let them kind of, hey, all right, you're gonna see what this business can do to you guys. Mm-hmm. It can chew you up and spit you out, or you can own it. You can make this thing your own. You can make it, whatever you want it to be. They got opportunity after opportunity, and we talked about this going into the Winter Brawl Classic. Hey, it's do or die time for the free world, and it's weird to say that, but when you lose the 10-man, that's not good. When you don't win the title in the cage, that's not good. When you don't win the tag titles in the triple threat tag, that's not good. They were losing some momentum, and then they kick Jackson King out, and I'm going to say this controversially, but then they win the tag titles. Yeah, there's a little miscommunication, but you know what? It is what it is. Picture had a hell of a reign as the openweight champ, and even in the Winter Brawl Classic, they were eliminating bodies, and then Jackson King came in.
Right.
Jackson King eliminates Matty Starr. They get into it in the locker room. One of the most unprofessional things I've ever seen on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my eyes. It was so distasteful to see those guys go at it in the locker room, fighting each other. And I know some people probably had a grin on their face saying, well, we tried to tell Jackson. Mm-hmm. We tried to tell him about that Matty guy. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you heard it from Jackson. He feels hurt. He feels like a victim. He feels like all these things. And a little bit of me, Clint, he brought it on himself. Mm-hmm. You trusted a snake.
Right.
You trusted a man who's been known to turn on people. You trusted a man who said, don't worry, guys, I got you. And he left you. He left you. You're really that surprised? But if you really are seeing the light, well, then you got a damn good opportunity this weekend to showcase in front of your family, your friends, and God himself what you are made of as a professional wrestler, what you are made of as a man. As a man who had to go through all that crap with Matty Starr, you have a chance to showcase why he should have never done what he did in the first place. He should have stood by your side. He should have stood up for you. If he was really your friend, he should have helped you up out of that ring, but instead he left you because of the influence of somebody else.
Yep.
Does that mean maybe Matty Starr's afraid of somebody in the big picture? I'm not going to stir that pot, but what I can tell you is I'd rather have Godzilla as an ally than an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another story for another time. But this Saturday, it's personal for both men. And personal grudge matches, man, they make some good entertainment.
Mm-hmm, they sure do. And I'm glad you brought up that he gets to do it in front of his friends and family. I've seen how popular Jackson King can be in Des Moines, going back to some of the old IPW shows at the Forte. And that was when he was just starting. I mean, there's a big crowd for him. So I imagine that he'll have a ton of support Saturday night, especially going against a guy who has never really cared about what the fans think. So
no.
What will the free world be doing? Big picture's there. Leo Santel's there. Jackson King, he calls himself the Lone Diamond. Well, he might just feel just how alone it could be Saturday night if things turn bad. He doesn't have a lot of friends right now, so he's got to keep that on his mind too.
Yeah, I think Leo's still a little conflicted, even. I know Matty is conflicted. You can see it. Mm-hmm. Although that spat in the back may have helped decide some things.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know how involved they all get in this matchup. I think a lot of it depends on the outcomes of their separate matches.
Right.
Which it's kind of crazy when you think about it. You got a guy who's a tag champ and he's in a match on his own. Another guy who's a tag champ, he's on his own match. And a guy who, they're all part of a group. Not one of them are teaming up. It's kind of weird, kind of crazy. But
they're together, but they're separate at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, very, very intricate.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, I mean, it's going to be another great show. Like you said, you think you're going to have a great crowd there. Before we move on to anything else, I know that you made a mention to an announcement coming for Friday. Care to jump in on any of that right now?
So, what I love about professional wrestling is the fact that there are opportunities, and that buzzword keeps popping up, opportunities at any turn, it feels like. If you have a wrestling promotion, you can give some young guy, some old veteran, a chance to walk in and prove themselves, right? Absolute Pro Wrestling in 2025, in May of this year, is going to provide an opportunity like none other.
Did you hear that?
We're going to have some fun.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Well, until next time, we'll see you ringside.